Okay, guys, so today is all about 2024 London Marathon. A little bit of the before, during, and after, my main reflections on the race, and what my plans are for the rest of 2024. So, first things first, training had been going well. Target provisionally 2 hours 35, which is just a shade inside my PB of 2 hours 36 and 2 seconds, which I set in London 2014. Michael, a good running friend, had kindly lent me his Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s, and these were hopefully going to give me just a bit more edge on the day. And so that was the plan. The journey down was fine, the expo was okay, it does get very busy. I think on reflection, would I go down on Saturday again? Probably not. Next year I'll look to go down midweek. It's just, I found that myself and my son William, who came with me, we spent a lot of time walking around during the day, getting to and from the expo, getting to the hotel, walking to the restaurant, walking back, going to the shops. And it's just a lot of time on your feet that you probably don't really need or want the day before a marathon. So on reflection, in the build-up, that's the one thing I would change. Moving on to the race, here's my race number, 44728, which meant I was off the blue start, wave one. Which I thought was going to be pretty good because I was just behind the championship starters and it would stop me from going off too fast. So the plan was lock into that 5:55 to 6 minute mile pace, find a rhythm early, find a group, and just settle in from there. However, as I was in the queue for the urinals, they announced they were opening wave one 10 minutes early. I'd rather do what I need to do, so to speak, and use the urinals and then get into wave one. I thought I'd have plenty of time, which I did. The problem being, by the time I got to wave one, I was right at the back and we were crammed in like sardines. There was no space to move. I couldn't get any further forward. Really didn't think it was going to be a problem until we got out onto Shooters Hill Road, which is where the reality of the situation hit me. I was a long way back, and I mean a long way back, probably the furthest back I've been ever, being in wave one, which was a surprise, but I tried not to let it affect me. But it did take 3 minutes and 45 seconds to get to the start line. For comparison, last year it was just under a minute. So I was already a long way back, and I spent the first 3 miles were, in particular, weaving off course, going on the grass, pavements, anything to get past people who were starting off a lot slower than me. I was catching people and asking them, are you running 6 minute miling? To which people were saying no, some were going for 3 hours and then 2 hours 45. I just could not find anyone to run with. Then in between 3 and 6 miles, I kind of got trapped. It's the best way to describe it. I've never seen the field so busy, and I was wedged in. Every time I went to go past someone, I either got cut up or someone slowed in front of me, or moved across in front of me, which made it really, really hard going early on. So I had to really keep pushing and try and find that 6 minute mile group. So we got through Cutty Sark, still really busy, a bit of a theme here. And at which point I had to tell myself to calm down, because the problem is you're not in a rhythm, you can panic, and once you start to panic, your breathing can go and everything can go from there. I reassured myself, looking at my splits, I was on for about 2:36, so I thought I'll just stick with that, and if I feel good, I'll pick up in the last 3 to 4 miles was the plan. Once I got to the Tower of London, I know from there it's not very far to go. The crowds are great, and you can really build from there. So then I was supposed to see the family at 9 miles, Canada Water. It's the noisiest I've ever seen it. Now, I know everyone goes on about Tower Bridge, but I have to say, Canada Water, hats off, kudos to everyone there who's cheering for me. I saw no one. I didn't see my kids, I didn't see my cousin. There were friends who had stood there, there were club members who had stood there apparently all cheering me on. I saw none of it because it was a wall of people, and again, the roads were so busy, the crowds were busy, but so were the roads, and I was still overtaking people. It was more of the same really from here up until Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge, once again, spectacular. Went through 20k in pretty much 1 hour 14, so it's perfect for 2:36 pace. Tried not to get carried away. For those who've never done Tower Bridge, honestly, it's a wall of noise. Although I think Canada Water rivaled it this year. And when you're going over Tower Bridge, the key is to conserve energy. Don't get carried away by the crowds. Don't waste energy. You've still got over halfway to go. Speaking of which, before I knew it, I was through halfway in 1:18.01. Now, that made me smile because my PB is 2:36.02, so it's exactly half of my PB. But I was still overtaking people. I estimate in the first half, without exaggerating, I overtook 1,000 runners, at least. And I was still overtaking people. And to be honest, it was more of the same really. I turned off to go towards West Ferry Road, and at that point it was a slight tailwind, so I did push on for a couple of miles, and that got me further into, for the first time I'd say around 16 miles, what I would call clear ground, clear territory, and I could finally try and settle, but I still couldn't find anyone running 6-minute miling. I went past Lee Cook from Konak at about 17 miles. He was struggling a bit at this stage. But just after that, about 18 miles, I was speaking to an Irish guy, and he said yes, he was running 6-minute miling. So I thought I'll settle in with him for a couple of miles, and then at 20 I've got a decision to make. He said at that point, once he got to 20, he would kick on. So I was prepared that it might be a lonely last 10k, but it often is. Went through 20 miles in 1:58.55, so pretty much bang on 2:36 pace. Feeling okay, but starting to tire, I have to be honest. It was at this point that I thought pushing on, it isn't sensible. There's a long way to go. I need to settle in and try and tick off 6-minute miling. It was also this point running sort of just off, if you like, Canary Wharf and back on to what's called the highway. There was a bit of a headwind, and there was a couple of strong gusts at this stage. I really had to work to get through that, and that was probably the hardest bit up until this point, and I was feeling quite tired, but strong, still strong enough. And we turned for home, 6 miles to go, and that's all about focus. I went through 35k in 2:09.35, so I'd only lost 5 seconds in that section, so still going strongly. That 5k split was 18:45, and I thought to myself, well, you know, hopefully I can push on a bit here. But the fatigue was probably starting to set in. I noticed my breathing rhythm probably wasn't where I wanted it to be, but it's normal at this stage of a marathon. I then ran a 6:05, I think it was, for mile 24, which isn't a disaster. And actually coming out of Blackfriars Tunnel, which is always the hardest bit for me, I actually found going up the hill absolutely fine. It was only once we crested the hill and we got onto the embankment, this is where things really start to bite and hurt. And you know, the demons can kick in at this point. I won't lie, part of me really wanted to walk at this stage, but then I saw up ahead a couple of guys who were really hanging onto the railings, trying to get their quads going. I thought, no, if I stop, I'll be in a world of trouble, So, you know, the thing is to try and slow enough that you can still keep moving without slowing too much that you seize up or cramp up. And I managed to get that balance right. I think mile 25 was a 6:15. And just before that 25 mile marker is the 40k point, which I went through in 2:28.29 or 2:28.30, something like that. And that's when you realise, okay, the PB is probably just gone. In my head, I thought, you know, I'm feeling like maybe 9 minutes. I'll close in 9 minutes. 2:37.30 is all I could think about. And before I knew it, I got to the corner to turn onto Birdcage Walk. Now I knew my family would be here. They're always there every year. They pick a good spot. It basically, you run through Parliament Square. There's a slight rise, and then it starts to dip, and they're on the left-hand side. So when I saw them, I went for a big high five. Some other people got involved as well, which was great, and that gave me a bit of a boost just when I needed it, really. And it got me going again, just ticking over for the last kilometre. At this stage, I could see the 800-metre marker a bit further up the road, but time seemed to be running away from me, and it was getting towards 2:35, and I was thinking, no, maybe 2:38's on the card rather than 2:37.5. And you know, I tried to think, well, I guarantee the championship time, stay relaxed. It was only as I got nearer that I realised it's actually the 600 metre to go sign. So 2:37:30, my brain was really struggling to do the maths at this stage, was more than likely on. 600 to 400 went really quickly, and then going around the last two corners, it was the first time in the race that people were starting to overtake me, and I just could not stem the tide. I couldn't sprint, I really couldn't lift the legs, it was just maintain down the mile. And I think I'd probably let out a couple of yeses, quite strong sort of yes, because I knew I was on for my second quickest time ever. Not bad for a 45-year-old. And the overall time was 2:37:09 on my watch. Official time 2:37:08. So all in all, a great day out. And the medal, I'll just quickly show you the medal. Pretty chunky. Yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with that. It's a nice heavy medal, bronze colour. As you can see, it's got all the landmarks on this side and sort of some braille and the river running through the middle on the other side. So yeah, really pleased, I have to say. I really do think that had there not been such traffic in the early miles, 2:35 was a realistic possibility. It's made me think 2:30 next year, which is the long-term goal, is a distinct possibility. But for now, the focus will be very much on 5 and 10Ks for the rest of the year, starting with potentially the North Walsham 5K, followed by the Wroxham 5K. So this content will be uploaded soon. Apologies, there hasn't been anything before, but hopefully it'll be a nice start of a great running and vlogging relationship. So can't wait to see you on the next one. Thanks very much. Bye. How long was that?